New Year, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Live by Design with Muadi. I am Muadi Dibinga. I'm your host, or is it hostess? I think it's host, right? I'm your host. I am a life strategist, a motivational speaker, and an author, and I'm so incredibly thrilled that you would join me today on this first broadcast. I'm going to be honest, I'm extremely nervous, but one of the things that I always tell my clients and anyone that I work with is that when you have a vision for your life, and when you have discovered your purpose, there's no need to wait, right? We don't have to wait and get caught in the prison of perfection or get stuck in the paralysis of analysis. When you have figured out what is your calling, I say you go out and do it. And so that's what we're doing today. I'm not quite sure, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure what the format of the show is going to be in the long run. I do know that we will have live broadcasts, such as the one that we're bringing to you today, as well as recorded shows. I'm going to be doing interviews. I'm going to let the format unfold organically as I get feedback from you, as I start to have other experiences in my life. But I am clear about the content. This is a space for those of you who have made a decision that you are done living a mediocre life, that you are ready now to step into your power, to step into your purpose. You have made a decision that you want to be more authentic, you want to be more loving, you want to have more abundance, you want to have more success, you want to have more joy. For a long time in my own life, I was sort of living by virtue of values that some felt really good to me, and some felt that they were really part of who I was at my nature, and some not so much. And when I was living in Brooklyn, maybe about 5 or 6, 7 or 8 years ago, I got to a point where I felt like enough was enough. I was tired of living for other people. I was tired of being ruled by my emotions. I was tired of living in constant drama. And I got on a search. I got on a quest. And you know what they say, I'm not where I need to be, but I'm so incredibly thankful that I'm not where I used to be. So this program is for you. If you are a business person that's trying to up level your business, we're going to have content for you. If you're a stay-at-home parent, a stay-at-home mother, a stay-at-home father, you just want to find a way to get more joy out of your life, this is the space for you. So again, I'm not too sure about what the format's going to look like long term, but I'm clear about our intention for today. Our intention for today is the setup. Today we are going to be talking about and exploring and sharing some themes that are going to help you understand the work that happens over the next several weeks, several years on this show. I don't know how long it's going to last. We're going to go with the flow, right? But we're going to set up some themes. We're going to set up some analogies to help you bring your life into focus. Today is about setting intention. It's about setting our intention for 2012. Now, I always tell people, particularly people that I coach, I'm not a big fan of these New Year's resolutions, right? January comes, everybody says, oh, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get that job, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And so, you try to go to the gym. If anybody went to the gym today, I'm sure it was packed. Give it a week, 2 weeks. You're going to walk in there, it's going to be like a ghost town. Why? Because most people, we say that we want to do certain things, we say that we want to achieve certain things, but we don't have a plan. We don't have accountability partners. We don't go about it in a way that maximizes our success. So this is the place where you are going to get some really practical tips that I have used myself, so I know that they work. I'm a recovering drama queen. I'm the first to say it. Still have some episodes from time to time, but like I said, work in progress. So this is going to be a space where I share things that I learned along my journey, where I'm going to be interviewing people in the workplace, in their living space, in their play space, who look like they sort of got it together and who are moving towards that place of being authentic. We are at a time now where we have to get out of the matrix. If any of you have seen that movie, The Matrix, it came out, there 3 episodes or it's a trilogy, I believe is a correct word. And I like to say that I'm now living out of the matrix, where I have detached myself from the expectations of others. I've detached myself from the need to acquire material things just to impress each others. I have detached myself from this constant feeding that some of us do, where we're looking externally to find things to fulfill us, when the truth of the matter is that what we need is actually within us. So we're going to get started. Today, if you haven't done so already, I really encourage you to grab a pencil, grab a piece of paper, because we're going to do some work. Today we're in the studio. It's just you, myself, and my wonderful engineer who's behind the scenes doing the work. Now, as I said before, this is an adventure. This is a first for me. So the power may go out. The technology may fail. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to be here. This is me showing you faith in action, because faith It's like any other muscle in the body. We lose it if we do not use it. And by putting ourselves in situations where we have to test our faith, where we can stretch and strengthen our faith, that's how it grows. And that's what allows us to do bigger and better things, okay? So the first thing that I want us to do is think about yourself, your life, your intention for 2012. I'm sure some of you have really big goals that you would like. Again, maybe you're starting a new business. Maybe you're gonna, I don't know, start a Bikram yoga studio, or maybe you want to be a producer. Maybe you want to be someone who's really becomes really big in entertainment, or maybe you just want to have a little bit more peace. Maybe you want to build up your fitness levels or your fitness business. Today we're going to talk about your life. There's an analogy that I use, and some of you that are watching, hopefully, as some people that I've coached or worked with in the past, may be familiar with this analogy, but I think it's always worth a repeat. I want you to take a moment and think about your life. And you're going to think about your life as you would a car. A car that is just coming out of the showroom is new, it's fresh, it's clean, no dents, no dings. Sort of like us as young people, as children. We come into this world fresh and clean. No fear, because fear is a learned behavior. No judgment, because judgment is a learned behavior. And no anger, no negative emotions. Any of you who have the opportunity or the blessing to be around young people, particularly children and babies, we see this firsthand. They come in, they're joyful, they're happy, just like a shiny new brand new car. But what happens is, as life progresses, as they start to get older, as we start to get older, and we start to get more responsibilities, and we start to allow the stresses of life to take over, our car gets a little dinged up. And as we go through the twists and turns of life, some of us, our cars go completely off the road. If you're lucky, you recover. If not, you spend your life sort of living in a ditch, wondering how you got there, wondering if you're ever going to get out. We're going to put this analogy into practice. We're going to put this analogy into action. So think about it. Visualize this with me, okay? Unfortunately, we don't have the fancy bells and whistles here yet, but we're going to get there one day. So right now, I need you to use that imagination that you had when you were a young person. Let's kick it in now. If you're a car, if your life is a car, like any other car, it must be in alignment in order for it to be able to really navigate the twists and the turns of the road. So there are a couple of pieces to the car that must be on point. The first thing we want to think about when you think about your car are the wheels. You have 4 wheels on your car. So let's think about your life. In your life, you have 4 wheels as well. And they are as follows. The first wheel is the wheel of health and wellness. And when we say health and wellness, that means, are you physically strong? Is your mind strong? Is your body strong? Are you able to carry your temple, which is on loan? Are you able to take care of your body? Is your body reflective of someone who is strong, who's excited about life, who's enthusiastic? So the first wheel that you want to think about in this analogy, and keep up, if you have a pencil and a piece of paper, this is a good place to sort of put it into action. So the first thing that we think about, that first wheel, is our health and wellness. The second wheel, again, in our car analogy, is our personal relationships. And it's not just the romantic relationships. It's not just, who we're dating or who we're seeing or who we're married to at the time. Of course, your romantic relationships are part of that. But when we think about personal relationships, we need to think about that in a much more broad sense. So it's our family relationships, our friends, our colleagues, our interpersonal relationships, our interpersonal connections. That's one wheel that we're thinking about. So far we have on our wheels of our life, we have our health and wellness, and we have our personal relationships. That's 2. The third one is your finances, your financial fiscal health. I know too many people, too many of us are walking around with more debt than we should be carrying. And whether we recognize it or not, carrying debt, living beyond our means, not having a fiscally healthy relationship with money is a detriment to your overall well-being, and it really blocks you from really living freely and living abundantly. So that's a wheel that really also requires some attention. So let's review, right? We have our health and wellness, we have our personal relationships, we just discussed that we have our financial wheel, and the fourth wheel is our career, our profession. How are we earning a living? How many of us go to jobs that don't fulfill us or don't satisfy us? How many of us are engaged in a profession that we came to not because we were called to it, but because we were driven to it, or we were told that this is the path that you should take? We're looking in society. You have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor, you have to be this particular occupation in order to have this particular status. So when we're thinking about our car, when we're thinking about our lives, again, let's review. We have four wheels. We have our, you know what, I wish I had an audience because then I can know that you're really out there paying attention, but that's all right. We have our health and wellness. We have our personal relationships. We have our financial health, and then we have a professional career. Those are the wheels that must be aligned. Those are the wheels that must have proper attention in order for your car to be able to navigate the twists and turns of the road. The engine that moves that car is your spirit. The engine that moves your car is your spirit. Think about your life. Those of you who are maybe in your 20s or in your 30s, up until this point, you've had your ups and downs. And at some point in time, any one of those wheels may have been a little flat, maybe have been completely bald, or maybe you got a donut where a real wheel should be. So maybe at one point in time, your finances are a little off, or your personal career is a little off. And that's fine because that's life. That's what life is about. We are going to suffer. We are going to have pain. We are going to have setbacks and things that sort of block us. If your spirit, and we're going to talk a little bit more in the next segment of what I mean about having a strong spirit. If your spirit is strong, and one of those wheels sort of falters, then you still have something to drive that car and move it forward. So we have our analogy set up. I hope you all out there, I hope you're taking notes. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back. We're going to pick up this analogy and we're going to move it a little further. So we'll be back in 3 minutes. Hi, and welcome back. I hope that during your break you had an opportunity to sort of think about the analogy that we set up, because now we're going to get down and do a little bit of work. So when you're thinking about your life, sometimes people like to visualize their lives in this far off sort of fantasy world. I want to be rich. I want to have a big house. It's okay to want things, but when we're thinking about creating a real action plan to getting us from point A to point B, and when you're trying to figure out how can I actually bring these things into my life, I really think it's important to start with a realistic vision. So what we're going to do now is, we already talked about our analogy. You set up your car. I want you to take a moment to look at the wheels and pick one wheel that you are going to focus on in this next segment, because what we're going to do is I'm going to offer you some leading questions, and I'm going to walk you through a little exercise where you can think about that wheel and make some real plans as to how you can bring it into fruition. Okay, so let's pick a wheel. And I think for myself, I have notes, so I'm going to be following my notes. I am going to pick my health and wellness. Health and wellness is a favorite of mine because physical fitness is very important to me. But like many of you, I've struggled. Sometimes I've done really, really well with my work in terms of trying to get myself to a place where I feel that I'm operating at my optimum, and not so well. Sometimes not so well. Sometimes I go through long periods where my exercise and my health and my eating is really on point, and others not so much, okay? So if I were to look at my health and wellness, and you're looking at your particular wheel, whatever it is, I want us to start from the end first. We're not going to start pie in the sky. So I'm not going to get up with my health and wellness and say I want to be a size 2. A, because I would look crazy as a size 2, and because it's just unrealistic. And when we're setting goals for ourselves, we have to deal with realistic goals. We can't create these pie in the sky plans that are not realistic and don't work, because we set ourselves up for failure. When we do not have a plan, and this is a really key point, when we tell ourselves that we are going to do something and we don't do it, we are subconsciously reinforcing in our own mind this notion that we are not reliable. And that does two very dangerous things. When we tell ourselves that we are not reliable, but not by not keeping our word to ourselves, we know we're subconsciously telling ourselves that we can't really have what we want, that we don't really deserve what we want. So somehow we will attract things, we will attract circumstances, and sometimes we will attract problems that reinforces that. So if I tell myself I'm going to get up and I'm going to work out every day for the next 30 days, and then I don't, I'm subtly telling myself, Muadi, I can't count on you. And if I know I can't count on you, then anything you say, I'm not going to take it seriously. That's one piece of it. The other piece is you start to attract people who are unreliable as well. There's an old saying that says, show me your friends and I will show you you. If you cannot count on yourself to do what you say that you are going to do, you are never going to attract friends, relationships, or anybody to you who's responsible as well, who will keep their word to you. So that's why it's really important for us to make sure that our goals are achievable, that they're not pie in the sky and they're not these big fantasy goals, but that they're realistic and that we set ourselves up for success and we don't set ourselves up for failure. So if I'm thinking about my health and fitness goal, my health and wellness goal, I know for myself, and I'm going to keep it real, I could probably stand to lose maybe 10 pounds this year. And unfortunately, now I've said that on television or on the web, so people are going to hold me accountable to it. But so let's think about it. If I think about my goal, there's a wonderful spiritual teacher by the name of Wayne Dyer. And what Dr. Dyer says is sometimes we should think about our goals from the end first. So I want you to sit down for a moment and think and visualize. You have your goal. You have your wheel, minus health and wellness, minus fitness. Ultimately, I want to lose 10 pounds this year, also so that I can be more strong, I can be more fit. The first thing that we have to do once you set that goal is visualize how will your life change? How will your life improve if you attain that goal? Take a moment and write that down. So for me, for example, if I achieve my goal of fitness, if I achieve what I've set out for myself, how will that improve my life? I study martial arts. I'll be much better in Taekwondo. I'll be able to exercise more. I'll be able to walk a little bit more freely. I may be able to buy clothes that maybe right now don't look so great. So I think about how will my life improve? I'll have more energy. I'm already pretty energetic now, but I'll have more energy. I'll have more stamina. I'll be able to keep up with my nieces and children that are close in my life. I'll be able to take more dance classes. So take a moment right now and think about it. The first question that you ask yourself whenever you want to bring about a change, if there's something specific that you want to accomplish, how will my life improve? So let's say that you're a choreographer, for example, who wants to be known for his choreography, who wants to who wants to continue to earn a living and really build your business. Visualize, how will my life improve once I achieve this goal? That's the first step. The second step, once you figure out, okay, this is what my life is going to look like, ask yourself the hard question. What will my life look like if I don't make this happen a year from now, right? So people talk about their New Year's resolutions with the assumption being that a year from now, our lives are going to be that much better, right? So a year from now, if I have not accomplished this goal, what will my life look like? I know for myself, a year from now, if I don't accomplish this goal, I'll probably be a little embarrassed because I'll be on TV talking to you all with those same 10 pounds. That won't be a pleasant experience. But on top of that, I know that I will not have achieved what I wanted to with regards to my martial arts. I will not have achieved what I wanted to with regards to the dance classes that I like to take or being able to hang out with my nieces. And I'll feel a little bit like a fraud. That's what I know for sure how I will feel. How will you feel? Okay, so we've asked ourselves two leading questions. So far, the first question is, how will my life be different? That's the first. And the second, if I don't, how will my life be? How will I feel? What will my life look like? The third question you have to ask yourself is, have I attempted to bring about change in this area before, and what held me back before? So with regards to health and wellness, I've had some success. So because people who knew me back when I was in my 20s, I was a little bit of a chunkamunga. Had really bad eating habits before I became a vegetarian. McDonald's, I could have bought stock in some of the fast food restaurants that I used to frequent on the regular. And yes, I'm outing myself right now, but it's all about living in the truth. So when I think about myself, when I became successful, a couple of things happened for me. Let me backtrack. When I was not successful, I wasn't consistent. I know now why I was not successful. I wasn't consistent. I didn't have a plan, and I didn't have people working with me. And I wasn't truthful with myself about what I was really eating. I wasn't truthful with myself about how much I was really exercising. So when I look back where I was not successful, it was as a result of not being consistent and not being committed. If I fast forward and look at how I have been successful in that area, it's because I did all of the opposite things of all of the things that I should have done in the first place. I got consistent. I got a plan. I got accountability partners, etc. Look at your life right now. If you're trying to become debt free in 2012, and that's something that has been at the top of your list for the last 5 or 6 years, what have you done that keeps you in this place? What is it that has kept you stuck in the first place? Usually, when we're not able to make change in our life, there are a couple of things that are going on. And I have a few tips. I'm going to do a little segue now. There are a couple of things that we think about when we're trying to make change. The first thing that I always ask people to do when they're trying to make a change, or they're looking at their past life and they weren't successful, ask yourself a couple of questions. The first question that you might want to ask yourself is, what company am I keeping? We said earlier that, water finds its own level. Show me your friends, I will show you you. If you set a goal for yourself, no matter what that is, and you're trying to come up higher, and you're trying to up level, and you're asking yourself, why was I not successful? The next step is to take that question out a little bit further. Because the success is not as simple of, well, I wasn't just as committed or accept. It also includes your environment. What kind of people do you associate with? I know that when I became a vegetarian, I was living in Atlanta. I was in a community of vegetarians, a community of people who were really thinking about their food and thinking about their nutrition and thinking about their health. And through that pattern, through working with those people and being in that company, it allowed my healthy habits to stick. I know that when I think about my fitness, when I think about working out, I have a community of people, my friends, people that are close to me, are people that have similar goals. Are there people in your life right now, when you think about your goal, think about your wheel? Again, my wheel is health and wellness. You might be looking at your professional career. You might be looking at your personal relationships. You might be looking at your professional career. Are there people that you associate with who are in your circle who you might have to give a second look to? In my workshops, I always tell people, I'm not all about cutting people off at the knees. I used to do that back in the day. I told you I'm a recovering drama queen. So back in my 20s, also in my early 30s, if you got on my nerves or made me angry, I would cut you off. I don't think that's a good way. That's a good way to operate. So I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I am suggesting is that there are going to be opportunities for you to look at your life and see where there are invitations for conversations. An invitation for a conversation. If you know that you're trying to be an entrepreneur and you have a spouse or a good friend or a colleague who is constantly bringing you down and telling you that you are not going to be successful in that venture, that's an invitation for a conversation. If you know that you are trying to lose weight and trying to be physically fit and be strong, and you have friends that all of their socializing revolves around eating fast food and junk, that's an invitation for a conversation. If you know that you want to up level in school and you want to bring up your grades and you have friends who are trying to drag you to the club 24/7, that's an invitation for a conversation. We have to make sure that we're clear about who is in our corner and who's going to support us. So this year, it's 2012. Again, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, but I do believe in using the energy, the momentum of the new year to bring about change. Do a little environmental scan of your life. Who in your circle do you need to bring a little bit closer? And who in your circle do you need to maybe, do a little dip and push them back a little bit? Invitation for a conversation. You have to do an environmental scan. Thinking about our wheels, mine is health and wellness. I don't know what yours is, but here's another question for you. You have to ask yourself, what did I do? What role did I play in creating the situation? The blame game is lame. When we become of age, everybody has a story. We all have a story about, oh, this person done me wrong and that person did me bad. And, we all have a past. We all have things that we're struggling with. But at some point, we have to take responsibility and be accountable to ourselves for the current state of our lives. Because what we're doing now, that's on you. Right? Our parents bring us so far. Our community brings us so far. And at some point, we have to look in the mirror and we have to ask ourselves, what did I do to create this situation? And it's not about blaming yourself either. It really is not. But it's about looking at your life with a clear lens. It's about looking at life with honesty, with critical honesty, so you can see really what is going on and make change. If we look to other people to blame for our situation, then by extension, by reason, we look to other people to fix our situation. If we look to other people to make us happy, then by extension, they also have the power to bring us down. You're responsible for your life. I'm responsible for my life. True story. When I was living in Atlanta, before I really got on my health and wellness kick, and I'm really going to tell out my business now. Why not? Before somebody writes a tell-all book about me, I'm going to tell on myself. My friend and I, now I'm not going to mention her name because I'm not going to embarrass her. We would get up on Saturday. We'd go take class, sometimes 2 hip hop classes back to back. And then on the way home, we'd stop off at McDonald's. And there was a time when they had those promotions, 2 quarter pounders with cheese for $2 or something crazy like that. So we would go, seriously, true story. We would go, take 2 dance cups, and we'd work and we'd sweat and we'd be so excited. And then we'd go and blow it all on food. Nobody dragged me to McDonald's. Nobody told me. That was my responsibility. That was my choice. As I began to bring awareness to my habits, as I began to bring awareness to what I was doing, I was able to make that connection. We can't blame anybody else. They didn't love us enough. They didn't like us enough. They didn't give us enough. You're here now. You're in the here and now, so you're responsible. So we know we don't blame others. We know that we do an environmental scan. We also make sure that we accept the isness of what is. And be clear, when I say accept, I don't mean condone, but what means that we tell the truth about what our life really looks like. We don't exaggerate. Oh, woe is me. Nobody loves me. That's one of my favorite things. When people, particularly when their relationships don't go the way they want them to go, and they get on the phone and, oh, nobody loves me, and oh, I'm all by myself. When they have friends, they have family, they have children, but they want to exaggerate. One small thing happens in our life and we want to explode it and make it a lot bigger than it is. We don't want to do that. We want to tell the truth about what's really going on in our life. So accept what is. If your finances are a hot mess right now, it is. That's what it is. If your weight is not what you want it to be right now, it is what it is. We don't resist what is, because when we tell ourselves the truth about what is, then we can go forward to go about fixing it. So I hope that you guys are following along. Again, this first episode, it's about setting our intention. It's about getting our mind right. It's about setting the direction that we want to go through in 2012. We are here to clean up the clutter. We are here to stop the lies. We are here to take off the rose-colored glasses, to look at our life and do what is necessary to bring more authentic love and peace and joy. And so the first part of that is telling ourselves the truth. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Don't go away. Look at your wheels, review your notes, and be ready to get it up and popping when we come back. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, you have found us. This is Live by Design with Muadi. I'm your host, Muadi Dibinga, a life strategist and a motivational speaker. This is our premiere episode. I'm very excited for those of you who are just joining us and those of you who have been with us since 12 o'clock. As I said at the top of the hour, this is the first time for me. It's an adventure, and it's a big step for me because getting stuck in this paralysis of analysis, this perfection prison, it keeps us from going out and doing things. So, this morning when I got up, I'm not going to lie, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, is it too late for me to cancel? And nobody would let me quit. Of course, I was not going to quit, but I'm nervous, but I'm also very excited. And this is an example, again, of faith in action. I feel that I was meant to be here. I feel that I was meant to do this. I've learned a lot. People that know me, have known me for a while, hopefully have seen the changes in me, and I still have a lot more growing to do. And so I am so excited to be here to add my voice to the conversation of spiritual growth, to add my voice to the conversation that's happening around the world with other people who are seekers like myself, and to share what I've learned with you. In the upcoming weeks, in the upcoming months, I'm going to be taking my show on the road and meeting individuals and visiting organizations that I feel are reflecting how to bring this type of thinking, this type of up-leveling thinking into the workplace. Also, some people who may be challenging, who have experiencing challenges bringing this level of work to their lives on an everyday basis. Yesterday, I spent the morning watching this movie called I Am on the OWN network, the Oprah Winfrey Network. And the movie was about a very, very successful producer who reached a great degree of fame, a great degree of fortune by producing movies and directing movies, most of which starred Jim Carrey. Some of them you might have heard of, The Nutty Professor and some other things. He had a life-threatening accident. And during his recovery, he came to realize that his whole life, according to him, was a lie. that he was not living in a place that was authentic, and that he did not feel as though he was up leveling his life, that he was being of support, that he was being of gratitude. So he came to the space where he completely started to give away his clothes, started to give away his money, started to give away a lot of things in his life, a lot of his material gains. I'm getting a signal from my engineer that we have to take up another break, that we might be experiencing some technical difficulties. I'm going to pick up on this story when we come back. We're back. As I was saying, if this little technical glitch that we just experienced had happened 3 or 4 years ago, I would be a little bit crazy right about now. So this goes to show you that everything that I'm telling you about journaling and taking time to really detach from attachment and people's expectation really works. Because back in the day, I probably would have turned this console over right about now. But in any event, before the break, I was telling you about a story that I saw on O Network yesterday called I Am. And it was about a very successful director who experienced a life-threatening accident. During his recovery, he realized that he was living for his material things and he gave them all away. During the course of the show, people were tweeting back and forth. You know, the Oprah Winfrey Network, they retweeted one of my tweets, and I gave a response to somebody who asked a question. And it was interesting because somebody asked me for some advice, some support, someone who didn't know me out there in Tweeter land. And so getting that tweet back from somebody who doesn't know me, asking me how to bring about real change into his life on a day-to-day basis was really enlightening for me, because it told me that there are other people out there who are looking to do this kind of work as well. And something that was interesting, somebody tweeted that her intention, which should be our intention, was to bring more Sundays into her Mondays through Thursdays. And what she meant by that was this. She was somebody who goes to worship on Sunday. And I'm not going to say where she goes to worship, because that's not the point. But her question was, how could she bring more of that awareness? How could she bring more of that consciousness into her everyday activities? How can she bring the energy, the love, and all of the warm feelings and the spirituality that she felt on the Sundays into the rest of her week, into the rest of her life? We are trying to get to that place too. How can you bring that purpose, that feeling, that joy that you know is inside of you into your everyday practice? How can you get back to that courage? Right now you're listening to me. I'm hoping some of you are getting really motivated, but tomorrow I'm not going to be there with you. How can we develop practices and habits that bring us back to ourselves? That's what this show is about. Before we took the break, before we started talking about the show I Am, again, it was on the OWN network. Hopefully they will repeat it during the week, because it was really, that was really must-see TV, at least as far as I was concerned. But before we left, we started talking about some tips to bring about change. We talked about the point that you need to really keep it real. When you're looking to make a change in your life, you have to be honest about yourself. Don't exaggerate what's going on, and don't underestimate what's going on. Again, back to my example, when I really started to look at my habits and started to write down what I was eating and looking at my patterns of exercise, it made sense to me while I was not seeing the progress, because I was sabotaging myself at every turn. When you're trying to make a change, whatever wheel you're working on, ask yourself, what habits did I have in the past that prevented me from bringing this to fruition? The next question you have to ask yourself, what must I begin to do to make this happen? What habits do I need to develop? What now must I allow to come forward? What habits must emerge now in order for me to make this happen? Because it's not just enough. It's not just enough for us to know what we shouldn't do. We should have a clear sense of what we should do, because it's not going to happen by accident. And I often tell people, we can't sleepwalk through our lives and expect abundance to sort of just come fall in our lap. And I'm always telling people, the universe doesn't give hookups. We have to do the work. And in order to do the work, we must be clear about what those action steps are. That's why I named this show Live by Design, as opposed to Live by Accident or Live by Default. We need to get in the driver's seat of our lives and ask ourselves the empowering questions and be willing to commit to doing the work. So we've already said we have to keep it real. We have to be honest with ourselves when you're looking at that wheel where you're trying to bring about change. We said that the blame game is lame. We must now, from this point forward, take total and 100% responsibility for our present and our future. We can't do anything about the past. We can't unring the bell. You can't unscramble eggs. It's done. It's done. So the time that we spend worrying about, complaining about what happened, that's time that would be better spent looking at what you can do now. The time that you spend resisting and complaining about what is, the effort that you put into complaining about what is effort that could be better spent changing your life. Okay? So we don't blame. The third piece is you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. You must find a way. Every morning when I get up in my journal, the one affirmation that I write is that I forgive myself for any and all actions, thoughts, or statements that I have ever made that were not in alignment with the divine of who I am. If you heard me earlier, you heard me say I'm a recovering drama queen. I could cuss anybody out at the drop of a dime. There are people in my life now who know how I used to be. One of my sisters told me a few weeks back that she kind of used to be afraid of me because I was a little bit mean and not a nice person. And there are a lot of reasons, there are a lot of excuses, and we can go back and forth. But the point is that I can't change what I did before. I can acknowledge it and I can atone for that for being a better person now. But if I stay in that space of shoulda, woulda, coulda, why didn't I do this or why didn't I do that, then there'll never be any forward momentum. So I forgive myself every day and set an intention to do better. So those of you who are watching, there's not a person who is watching, there is not a person who is breathing, who has not at least committed one act, done one thing, said something hurtful that you wish you could take back. The reality is you can't, but you can atone. And how you atone is by doing better. Knowing better and doing better. So you have to forgive yourself. If you overspent, if your credit is in the toilet, if you ran your relationship off the road, if you're carrying more weight than you need to carry, if you were mean to your kids this morning when it really was not your intention, forgive yourself. Don't carry the burden of that guilt because it does not serve you. Again, more tips. Call AAA. Call AAA. If your car of your life runs off that ditch, we're really going to ride this car analogy out. Call AAA, your AAA team, the people in your life who are adaptable, available. They have to be adaptable, they have to be available, and they have to be accountable. Surround yourself with people who share a greater vision for their own life. They don't have to share your vision. They don't have to get what you're doing. Because again, what's for you is for you. You were called to this earth to carry out a specific purpose that is unique to you. So everybody's not going to be able to do what you do. And you shouldn't be out running around trying to do what everybody else does, right? Your vision is your vision. But you do want to connect yourself to people who are moving forward as well. This goes back to the environmental scan. People who you can share your goals with, who are not going to poo-poo you and say, oh, you can't do this, and we never did that. You're too old, you're too fat, you're too tall, you're too short. People who are going to look at you, see the power in you, and co-sign off of your vision. They're going to be realistic. So somebody in my AAA team would say to me, Muadi, size 2 is not really something that you should be striving for, right? Because we know that would not look good on you. You're going to look a little crazy. But there will be people who say, you're going to the gym today? Case in point, last night after our Kwanzaa celebration, one of my brothers came, tapped me on my shoulder, looked at my arms, and suggested to me that I needed to do a little bit more work toning up. I didn't take offense. I don't mind sharing that with you now. I use that as an example of somebody who's in my corner, who knows what my goals are and supports me. Your AAA team must be there for you. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but we have to take one more break, and then we're going to pick this up in the next segment. But in the meantime, while we're on this break, think about who's in your corner. Think about who's on your AAA team. We'll be right back. It's Muadi Dibinga I'm here, the host of Live by Design with Muadi. This is a place for people who are trying to break out of mediocrity, who are trying to come up higher in their lives and really live out their purpose. What we said at the top of the hour still stands true. You were called to this earth. The statistics of you being here are minuscule. The fact that you were here, you're breathing, you can hear me, you can see me, means you were meant to do great things. I believe that of every one of you, just as I believe it of myself. And the purpose of this program, the purpose of this channel, is to work with you to walk with you on that journey, because I'm a work in progress still, trying to up level, trying to bring out the best of who I am. And until that day that you take your last breath, every moment is an opportunity to come up higher. Every moment is an opportunity to unleash the power and the genius that is you. It's not just in you, it is you. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Before we took the break, we were going through my tips for helping to really, really transform your life. And we have a few more that we're going to run through. We're going to do a little bit of a recap because I can't believe the hour is almost over. But this has really been an exciting morning for me, and I'm really looking forward to joining me again in the future when we go out on the street and interview people, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But let's get back to our tips, and let's do a little bit of a recap first. We're talking about 5 things, actually it's 6 things that you can do to transform your life. The first thing is keep it real. Stop fronting. Stop pretending. Stop living a lie. We don't need to put on shows. Leave the acting to the actors. You want to see a play? Go to the theater. You want to see a movie? Go to the movie theater. But your life, that's real. So we need to drop the masks, and we need to be really honest, at least with ourselves, about what is working and what is not working in our life. What is working, we have to set an intention to bring in more of that. And what's not working, we have to set an intention to get less of that, to exit it, to get less of that in our lives. We must keep it real. The second thing we have to do is what? Stop blaming. The blame game is what? It's lame. We can't keep looking to other people as the source of our problems or the source of our malcontent. Of course, there are people who will do actions. People will say things to us that cause us hurt, that cause us pain. Maybe your childhood was not what you wanted it to be. Maybe the relationship that you're in right now is not what you want it to be. But you have what is called reflective consciousness. You have the power to look at your environment right now and make a change. And don't tell me about statistics, right? Oftentimes we hear people say, well, the probability of people who are born with this circumstance or that circumstance elevating to this level in their life is 0 to 1. I've said it before. You are not a statistic. Your possibilities are not limited by the probabilities that have been placed on you by other people. I don't listen to statistics, because if I had listened to the statistics, an African American girl growing up, where I grew up in Roxbury, my life would not look the way it looks right now. So you are not a statistic. We do not lay blame. We do not lay blame. We look at our lives and we take responsibility from this point forward. Forgive yourself. It's done. It's over. Whatever choice you made, whatever decision you made, whatever action you take, you cannot take it back. But you can do better. You can atone from your past by living with a greater sense of consciousness and awareness and intention right now. Stop blaming yourself and stop blaming other people. Call that AAA team. We talked about that right before the break. Accountable, available, adaptable, people who will walk with you in that journey. People who will look at you and only see the best in you, but people who will also tap you on the shoulder or maybe thump you on your head if necessary, if they see you veering off of what you said your destiny was to be. Look at the people in your life right now. Quantity, quality. I choose quality over quantity when it comes to friends in my life. I don't have to have a whole bunch of people to talk to, as long as the people that I do talk to have my back and have my support. Particularly any young people that are watching right now. I was not a popular young person. And I'm fine with that. I'm not so popular right now. I have about this many friends. I can count them on my fingers. And keep in mind, I keep from a very big family, so that doesn't leave a lot of room for a whole bunch of people. You don't have to be part of a crowd to have joy in this life. You don't have to be part of a crew. You don't have to be part of the mainstream. You can live as an individual and attract other people who are choosing to live authentically. But you have to be that first. Adopt an attitude of gratitude. It sounds corny. I know it sounds corny. And when I first started hearing about this and working on this in my own life, in my journaling, I'm like, are you serious? Grateful for what? There's all this stuff that's wrong with the world. This person's mean. There are wars and people are living in poverty. I'm a person with a social justice background. So this whole gratitude thing, I thought it was a little crazy and just a little corny. But the truth of the matter, it works. Every morning, I get up in my journal and I identify 5 things in my life that I'm grateful for. At the top of the list is always my family, right? I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for the earth. But it's small things too. I'm grateful for red velvet cupcakes. And yes, I did say that. Health and wellness is my wheel, but I'm not a saint. I'm not Mother Teresa. This is, this is the keep it real section. I'm grateful for red velvet cupcakes. That's the truth. I look at my life and see what little things can I find every day that make me thankful to be alive, that I can participate, that I can walk, that I can see. You cannot look at me in the eye. You can't look in this camera, look back in my face and tell me that there's not something, at least one thing in your life that you're grateful for. Spend more time looking at those things you should be grateful for. Because when you put your eye, when you set an intention to find things to be grateful for, more of those things show up. Again, I know it sounds crazy, but it really works. The last thing was that environmental scan. Talked about it at the top of this segment of this conversation. Look around in your life. What's working? What's not working? We talked again about your crew, your family. Maybe you need to relocate. Maybe you need to develop some new habits. Maybe you need to let go of a few habits. And people are always saying, well, I will be happy when I get this. I want to start a business, but I want to go back to school so I can start where you are right now. If I waited until I had this software perfect, if I waited until everything in the Jupiter was lined up and Venus was in the 7th house, I wouldn't have to be bringing this broadcast to you right now. We need to get out of our perfection prison. We need to stop with the whole paralysis of analysis. Start right now. One more time, our tips, so you can hear them clearly. We keep it real. We take responsibility. We forgive. We call in our A team. We adopt an attitude of gratitude, and we do an environmental scan. We only have a few minutes left in this first episode, so I want to wrap this up by talking about the most important part of your car. We talked about the wheels. We talked about those 4 wheels. Their personal finances, your career, your health and wellness, and your relationships. That battery is your spirit. And I want to be clear, because sometimes when I start talking about spirituality and spiritual development, people's ears just turn off. I'm not talking about religion, although there are people who have a spiritual practice that is concluded in an organized religion, or that they go to church, or they go to mosque, or they go to temple. And that's wonderful. That's very powerful. Everybody needs to find, I recommend anyway, that you find a way to tune out from the outside world and tune into your gut, tune into your spirit, tune into your intuition. For some people, it is going to a religious institution. For some people, I have a very good friend working on cars. That's his spiritual practice. That's how he tunes out the rest of the world and tunes in to what's going on in his own life. For me, it's any form of exercise, whether it be Bikram yoga or dance class, by journaling. There's so many things going on in this world that distract us from the truth of who we are, that it's easy to get lost. There's so many images that we see of what people think we should do and what we should not do, that it's easy to become invisible, and it's easy to start to sort of go with the pack. I encourage you to find a way every day, if possible, for at least 10 minutes to tune out and tune in. Listen to your inner voice. Get back to the truth and the knowledge of who you are at your core. You came into this world with greatness in you. You came into this world with genius in you. When we come into this world, we are as close to that genius as we ever will be in our lives. And as we get older, as our world expands, as we become more bogged down and more stressed out, we lose touch with that voice, that intuition that never steered us wrong when we were babies, when we were children. That intuition that told us who to love, that intuition that let us know who was for us and who was against us, that's still there. Every day, find a way to tune out and tune within. And I guarantee you, you will start to be amazed by the changes in your life. This is it. It's the end of our first segment. It's the first of our first episode. The next time you see me, I'm going to be out on the street or in a restaurant or at the gym talking to someone who reflects this kind of thinking. Speaking with someone, I'm going to be bringing you stories of other people who are trying to uplevel their own lives to inspire you to do what's best in your life. I believe that if you come up high, we work together, and we individually and collectively strive to live on purpose and strive to live authentically, we will create a momentum. We will create an energy that will really move our community and by extension, our whole globe forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me for this first episode. I'm still a little nervous. I hope that you found it to be useful. I hope that you found something valuable, and I hope that you will tune in next time. Take care and create a great day.